Before the Heat's back-to-back championships, and even before D Wade's first ring back in 2006, the Miami Heat were able to construct an imposing roster that was in position to go on a very successful run that could have translated to a championship, which was really impressive when you put into context that less than a decade ago, this is a franchise that was adopted into the league as an expansion team. What's even more impressive is that the front office, in only a few months, was able to change the trajectory of this franchise to put them on this course. During the summer of '95, Miami signed no-nonsense, defensive-oriented head coach Pat Riley. A few months later, they acquired defensive-minded big man Alonzo Mourning, who could also give you 20 points a game. And during the '96 trading deadline, they traded for Tim Hardaway to spice up the offense. And alongside this core was a very underrated supporting cast that was a perfect mix of defense, scoring, and three-point shooting. And within 1 year's time, the Miami Heat went from a 42-win team that struggled to make the playoffs in '96 to a 60-win powerhouse that not only put them at the top of the conference, but also gave them the recognition of a title contending team. And the cherry on top of all of this was perfect timing. All of the key contributors for this Miami Heat team were 30 years old or younger, except for Thunder Dan, who was 31 years old. And while this was going on, the rest of the Eastern Conference was struggling to transition to a new era of basketball. So how is it that this team with this much talent and potential missed out on such a great opportunity to win a championship, or heck, even make the finals? So first we begin in the '97 season, and like I alluded to in the intro, this was a coming out party for the young franchise, as Miami finished the year with 61 games in their win column. The season becomes even more impressive when you dig a bit deeper and realize that the Heat were this successful despite Alonzo Mourning missing nearly 20 games. In his absence, key contributors such as Dan Marley, Isaac Austin, PJ Brown, and Jamal Mashburn all stepped up, but the player with the biggest impact had to be Tim Hardaway. While Mourning was sidelined nursing a heel injury, Hardaway was in the middle of a near 2-month stretch where he was averaging roughly 23 to 24 points, 9 assists, 2 steals, and shooting 37% from the three on 9 3-point attempts. Yeah, 9. And for their efforts, individual accolades are handed out by the end of the year. Isaac Austin was named Most Improved Player of the Year, PJ Brown was selected to an All-Defensive Team, Pat Riley was named Coach of the Year, and both Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway were selected to an All-Star team, as well as Hardaway being placed on an All-NBA team and finishing 4th in the MVP race. So yeah, this was a really good and deep team, so good that it wasn't surprising at all when they made quick work of the Orlando Magic in the first round, as Orlando was going through their first transition year without Shaq. However, what was going to be a challenge was who Miami faced in the second round, which were the Knicks. Now, I'm not going to go into any deep details about all of the storylines surrounding this series. However, there are a few things that you have to know. A, Pat Riley used to coach for the Knicks before he took the job in Miami. B, the New York Knicks picked up Larry Johnson during the '96 offseason, who used to be teammates with Alonzo Mourning back in Charlotte, and let's just say the relationship and breakup between those two players wasn't the prettiest. But more importantly, this was a great example of two teams on two different ends of a timeline that were both trying to achieve the exact same goal, which is a championship. As the Knicks were on the decline, watching their championship window close in the Eastern Conference that was constantly evolving, and pushing that change was a young Miami Heat team that was ascending but needed some validation in the playoffs if they were ever going to be taken serious when it comes to title contending. And oh yeah, before I forget, these are two teams that heavily base their identity in defense and physicality. Probably should have brought that up first. But at first, it didn't seem like getting physical was necessary, as New York leaned on their experience, which provided them a 3-1 lead after Game 4. But then this happened.
PJ Brown throws Charlie Ward. Watch out. This one's going to get really ugly. PJ Brown pricked Charlie Ward up and threw him into the photographer's row.
At the end of Game 5, which was a blowout in favor of Miami, PJ Brown flips New York Knicks guard Charlie Ward, which leads to New York's bench erupting, Knicks players flooding the court surrounding the two players, and of course some suspensions were handed out. However, here's a twist. The Knicks had so many players suspended from this altercation that they all couldn't miss the same game due to the minimum amount of players required to play a game. So Patrick Ewing, Allen Houston, and Charlie Ward would miss Game 6, which resulted in a win for the Miami Heat by only 5 points behind a really good performance from Alonzo Mourning. And then John Starks and Larry Johnson would miss Game 7, which also resulted in a Miami Heat win behind a legendary performance from Tim Hardaway, who posted 38 points, 7 assists, 5 steals, while shooting 60% from the field and 60% from deep. So not only does this mean Miami gets to advance to the conference finals, but they become one of the very few teams in NBA history to come back from a 3-1 deficit. Now, the success was short-lived as Miami would lose in the conference finals to the Chicago Bulls in 5 games. However, there was a silver lining in the loss, and that was the 97 Miami Heat were possibly the most successful team at slowing down Jordan, as throughout the series, MJ shot below 40% from the field. Matter of fact, the entire Bulls team struggled mightily to find some type of consistent offense, as not only Jordan struggled, but so did Scottie Pippen and Tony Kukoc. So even though Miami didn't win a championship that year, making it that far and being that successful against Michael Jordan is a win in and of itself, and it certainly provided a level of optimism to the fan base in the front office that was carried on into the next year. The 97-98 season was very similar to the year prior. Despite Alonzo Mourning and Jamal Mashburn being out due to injuries, as well as losing Isaac Austin at the trading deadline, Miami was still very successful. 55+ wins, elite level defense, 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference, and they had to play the New York Knicks in the playoffs, as well as suspensions playing a major role in determining who was going to win the series. However, the only difference is this time New York would take advantage of the opportunity. In the final seconds of a Game 4 that the New York Knicks were winning to tie the series 2-2, both Alonzo Mourning and Larry Johnson got into a fight. And even though Jeff Van Gundy tried his hardest to stop the altercation, of course this resulted in suspensions of both of these players. And with Alonzo Mourning absent, both Allen Houston and John Starks torched the Miami Heat defense in Game 5 to put the Knicks ahead and advance in the next round. Which now brings us to the next season, and again, a very similar story. Despite injuries from Jamal Mashburn and Vashawn Leonard, the Miami Heat were still very successful. They finished with the best record in the Eastern Conference, elite level defense, and at this time, the team was more so led by Alonzo Mourning, as not only Tim Hardaway was starting to age, but also Mourning was starting to peak as he won Defensive Player of the Year and finished 2nd in the MVP race. And to be completely honest, the 98-99 season is easily the most ideal situation for this Miami Heat team to win a championship, and that's for 2 reasons. The first one being Michael Jordan no longer being in the league, and the second reason being most teams and players were not even prepared for this season, as the season was shortened thanks to a lockout, which thus led to a lot of players being out of shape, as well as a lot of teams not having the proper amount of games to build chemistry with a lot of their new pieces. However, Miami wasn't able to take advantage of the opportunity, as they not only matched up with their rivals yet again in the playoffs, they fell short to them once more. As the New York Knicks, as the 8th seed, were able to pull off one of the biggest upsets in NBA history, thanks to one of the most iconic shots in Knicks history from Allen Houston.
For Ewing, Allen Houston. Houston ducks under, got it! And the New York Knicks have become the 2nd team in NBA history to knock off a number 1, an 8 over a number 1, only the 2nd time in NBA history.
And finally, during the 99-2000 season, I'm pretty sure you all kind of get the gist of this. Despite injuries, Miami still is successful, led by a great season from Alonzo Mourning, and yet during the playoffs, they match up with the Knicks and still lose to them in a very close series. Yeah, that's basically what happened to a T for the 3rd straight year. And just like that, the run is over, because even though, yes, Miami had another really good season in 2001, which could have translated to another chance at a championship, as the front office decided to make some changes with the roster that consisted of trading both PJ Brown and Jamal Mashburn to the Charlotte Hornets and in return receive Eddie Jones, the potential of the retooling was never fulfilled, as Alonzo Mourning was diagnosed with a kidney disease that would significantly alter his career. So yeah, the championship window was closed. And honestly, I find it very interesting doing videos and researching teams like this, because what it allows me to do is respect champions and postseason success just a little bit more. Teams like the mid-2000 Suns, Lob City Clippers, early 2000 Kings, and the late 90s Miami Heat give me a great example that it's more than just timing, coaching, talent, potential, and even all of the above. Is it lack of execution? Sure. A pinch of luck? Maybe. Bad matchups? Definitely feel like that's a reoccurring theme with a lot of these teams that don't win a championship. However, at the end of the day, an opportunity is an opportunity. And taking advantages of those opportunities can be the difference in where many people view these players in all-time greatness. In my opinion, it's the difference between Dwayne Wade and Chris Paul. And it's the reason why the 2011 Dallas Mavericks will be immortalized, while the late 90s Miami Heat are quickly forgotten. And even for the people who haven't forgotten, the only time that these teams jog our memories is when we're discussing some of the biggest missed opportunities in NBA history. So with all that being said, people, please let me know what you think about the video in the comment section below. If you want me to make similar videos like this, always let me know as well. Hit the thumbs up button, notification bell, and I will see you all later. Peace.